I haven't posted in 2 weeks, and that's partly because I feel internally paralyzed and partly because I don't know what to say. On October 7th, over 1,000 terrorists infiltrated Israel and massacred civilians. They slaughtered them, shooting them in the head, dismembering them, beheading them, burning them, raping them, torturing them. And when I say them, I mean women, children, babies, literally less than a year old, 4-month-old babies, men, the elderly, the sick, slaughtered them. And if that horror wasn't enough, seeing the response across the world of people celebrating this, seeing the media and how they frame what happened, seeing people posting terrible things on social media has just been so painful. What happened on October 7th was born of such a deep hatred and evil that people's inability to acknowledge it and condemn it is so messed up. I'm Israeli American and I'm Jewish, and it is a really scary time to be both of those things because of just how deep and insidious anti-Semitism is throughout the world, throughout our institutions. And I want to be clear for people who think that this was about colonialism. It wasn't. Jews are indigenous to the land of Israel. They existed in Israel before Islam existed. And Al-Aqsa Mosque is built literally on top of the Second Jewish Temple. So anyone with common sense would understand just architecturally what that means. This isn't about apartheid. Gaza is governed by Hamas. There are no Jews there, but there are 2 million Arabs living in the land of Israel who have equal rights, who are professors, doctors, judges, lawyers, have the same exact rights as Israeli Jews. This isn't about the blockade because nobody's complaining about Egypt's blockade along the border, and Hamas didn't infiltrate Egypt and massacre over 1,000 of their civilians. So there's just so many trigger words that are being used in talking about this conflict by people who have no idea what they're talking about, but who just like to apply this Western lens of oppressed and victim onto the situation. It just doesn't apply. I am simultaneously overwhelmed by emotion, but numb. I don't know what to do anymore. Ranting aside, I am making this video because I want to let people know how they can help. The first way is donate. I will link to a website in the comments that provides a list of verified charities. The second thing you can do, if you think any of the words that I'd mentioned earlier, colonialism, apartheid, or genocide, apply to the situation, I'd first recommend you do some reading, and not from the sources that you have already been going to, because that is just going to confirm your existing bias. But read a little bit more broadly about the conflict, about the history. Don't say anything on social media because you're very likely to be spreading disinformation. And to the extent that you do follow people who actually share fact-based information and you want to amplify their voices, do so. But please don't amplify the voices of people who don't really actually have skin in this game, so to speak, who are not tied to the conflict. There's so many people of different ethnicities who are trying to draw parallels between what's happening in their experiences that honestly have very little relevance. So please don't amplify those voices because they are not relevant and often can be very harmful. And the third thing you can do is reach out to your friends who are impacted by this. If you know someone Jewish, they are impacted by this, not only because they probably have friends and family in Israel, but because it is very scary to be Jewish right now, because anti-Semitism is rearing its ugly head around the world. This is not about Israel. Don't let people think that this is about Israel. It is about anti-Semitism. That is why you see chants in Sydney from people saying, "Gas the Jews." That is why a woman was just murdered in Detroit. A rabbi was just stabbed to death outside of her home in Detroit. We are scared. Reach out to your friends. Let them know that you were thinking of them, that you were there for them, and reach out to them more than once. And as a final note, if you talk to people, anyone, particularly young people, your messaging should not be one that is driven by hate and the elimination of another people. If it is, you are furthering this conflict. You are making it worse. You are not actually an advocate for peace. To my fellow Jewish people, Israelis, Israeli Americans, you are not alone. The only light for me in this darkness has been seeing the rallying of our community around the world to support one another and to support Israel and to make sure that this never happens again, because we made a promise. We made a promise after the Holocaust, never again. And it seems that that promise is only being held true, is only being honored by ourselves. So the rest of the world, please, please make that promise true. Please remember that when we said never again, that you meant it as well, that it wasn't just us telling ourselves never again.